Good morning. I'd like to call this Craven County Board of Commissioners special meeting together Friday, September 21st. Madam Clerk, could you call the roll?
Certainly. Commissioner Jones? Commissioner Liner?
Here.
Commissioner McCabe?
Here.
Commissioner Sampson?
Here.
Commissioner Tyson?
Here.
Vice Chair Dacey?
Here.
Chairman Moore?
Here. Let's stand for the pledge, please. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Commissioner Sanderson, would you say a prayer?
Our Father and our God, we just thank you this morning, Father, that things as well as done. We thank you that we are able to meet here for the business of the people in this community. But Father, we just thank you, Father, for blessing us that the storm was not any worse than it was. We thank you that we are here this morning to come together to do the best thing for this county and this city. Merciful Father, let's continue to direct our path that we may be able to make a difference in this society. Let us love flow from heart to heart and mind to mind, that we can come together for the benefit of all. In Jesus' name we pray and we count it all done. Amen.
Amen. You all have a copy of the agenda in front of you. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Nays? The ayes have it. Jack, I'll call on you at this point.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chair. It's an honor to be here this morning. I think we'd start with Stanley Kite, our Emergency Management Director, and he has a special guest with this morning is John Unford from Washington State. He's been a gentleman that's been assisting us over the last week or so. John was a godsend to this county. I'll put that on the record. Stanley, if you would give us a quick report on what you got.
Thank you, Mr. Jack. Let me just say that this has been an all-out conflagration for us concerning what's been going on since we started before the storm landed. And we executed with operations and fire and rescue personnel over 500 rescues. Those 500 rescue missions, the mission may have originated with one rescue, but when they were coming out, they were bringing them out in 15, 20, 25 people at a time. So we really don't have a total count on the exact numbers, but it's going to far exceed 1,500 without any question. Just in the city alone, they said they had roughly 4,000. So I don't necessarily have all their numbers. Today, as we speak, we still have in shelter in county, Ben Quinn 69, Brinson 107, Farm Life 27, Trent Park 147, 107. We have incident objectives, which we do every day. We do debrief, we do brief in, then we do brief out every day at the beginning of our shifts. We have started trying to scale back. The incident objectives for today is to provide for the safety of all responders and the citizens. We're still looking at life safety issues being our number one priority. We're monitoring another unfolding event as we speak with the inland flooding, as you know, north of Weyerhaeuser in the western part of Craven County. It's going to be a replica almost as significant as Matthew, not quite that bad from what they're forecasting based on the Kinston gauge, but troops on the ground are still giving me a not too favorable condition today, including people that are still isolated in those areas. It may just be locked in. It's not necessarily flooding, and in some cases, I'm suspecting on my visit this morning we're going to see some actual flooding based on the rise last night. We're basically operating 5 pods in designated locations according to the priority list. We're also coordinating support with Red Cross and other services on the shelters. We're maintaining the stage and rehab base at Temple Baptist for first responders. They're providing food, shelter, and hygiene for over 400 responders that are still at that location. We're providing timely and accurate public information. We'll coordinate that to make sure we're all saying the same message instead of having fragmented messages coming out on behalf of Craven County. DOC is still fully operational. We're still taking on events. We're still doing welfare checks as well. We're trying to manage that. I would like to bring to your attention again, as Mr. Jack said, Mr. John Mumford from Washington State and his excellent team of guys. I mean, they brought in staff to help us. I mean, they've been really good to us. They've been good for us. They've really helped us stay focused on the missions. They've helped us change from a staff of 3 in the EOC to basically 12 to 15, and there's just so many things that they're chasing that they're helping us out with. It's just unimaginable. I would say to you that the Havelock water system was damaged earlier in the incident with a breach that's been isolated, but the county's been able to share with Havelock. Jones County lost all their water system. The county's been able to share with them. Infrastructure in the beginning, after life safety was our primary focus, maintain that infrastructure. All our primary roads are now open except for the areas from Weyerhaeuser to the north and west. They're gone back under with flooding. We're also getting inundated with rerouted traffic trying to find ways from Raleigh to the coast. So that traffic volume is going to be heavy on the 43 quarter as well as the 17 quarter for the next several days. I will tell you, we're monitoring those levels. They're expected at the crest at 25.9 feet in Kinston. But just let me remind you, a lot of times when that crest occurs in Kinston, we're still 2 more days before we see a crest in our part of the river. So that's still coming. There's still a lot of water got to get through our area, still coming. The staging areas that we're operating is 5 pods. We've got points of distribution, We got Havelock, Newbern, Vanceboro, Harlow, and over in the western Craven County area in Township 9. We still got those. We're still distributing supplies to shelters and pods. We're taking care of stranded residents as best we can with the National Guard. They actually have troops on the ground, vehicles on the ground. They're actually infiltrating now from just having a pod mission to recognizing a lot of folks can't get there. They don't have transportation. They lost their means of transportation. They lost their cars. They're heavily inundated. So now we have troops actually going into communities and going door to door, making sure we at least have the basic sustaining life missions of food and water. Highway 70 to 258 in Lenore County is closed. It's completely blocked off now. So that's no longer an option. So that has increased the ground transportation. We still have air logistics in Kinston at the Global Transport that if we start getting in a tighter crunch for those deliveries, we can have airdrops made. Those airdrops are sitting there and ready. It's just a matter of the logistical support of which one you get first and how you need them. So that's kind of a snapshot where we are today, Mr. Vighton. I'd like to stop with that to just tell you it's a hot mission. It's still ongoing. We've not backed down. We are trying to tailor some of our operational time periods to try to survive some staff people. So that's where we are, gentlemen.
Stanley, I'd like to offer John just a minute at the podium. John, if you like,
Absolutely.
just a quick 2 or 3 minutes on what you guys have seen.
Morning. As I said, my name is John Unfred. I'm the incident commander from the Washington Incident Management Team. We were sent out here at the request of the state of North Carolina, and then we were assigned to all of you folks early on. Unfortunately, we've only got another 4 or 5 days here, and then we time out, and hopefully we'll get a smaller team in. On behalf of my team, I can honestly say this is a huge honor and privilege, and we are very thankful to be able to come out here and help you all. This is what we do, this is what we train for, and believe me, someday we'll probably be asking for it to come the other way, so we're more than happy to do that. I know Mr. Kite kind of highlighted what we're doing. Today, really, our big missions is we're making a plan. We're going to get the folks from Chapel Hill and Sanford back into the county, hopefully back to their homes, and then we're working towards the next week to get a consolidated shelter, get all the folks that are still in the shelter in one spot. American Red Cross is going to work through that with us. And then just supporting Mr. Kite and their operations and moving into the recovery phase. So starting to get FEMA, Disaster Recovery Center, and those kind of things up. We have a big logistical operation with the pods and trying to reach out to those pockets that can't quite get to the pods. We're doing the best we can. We've got the system kind of set up. It's a little bit jerky, and it's not as nimble as we would like. We're not as good at it as Walmart or some of the other places, and you know there's a lot of hiccups along the way through Raleigh and all the other counties wanting stuff. So we're getting there, we're getting it smoothed out, but if it's logistical requests, understand we're not able to turn quite as fast as we can on other stuff. But the system's flowing, and we will get it there. So again, thank you. We're very appreciative to have the chance to help you guys out, and look forward to coming back. And we've all got plans to come back and see Craven County at its best in another year or so when you get everything cleaned up. So thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Before we get into the rest of the agenda, I'd just like to take Chairman's privilege for a moment to thank John and his squad, to thank Stanley Kite and his squad, and the 16 or 7 people that we've had working 16 hours a day. And Jack Veit, who has done a terrific job as looking over this whole thing. It's been We've got everything being thrown at us. He's going in 16 different directions, but he's been able to guide it in 1 or 2 or 3, and his whole staff. And I think we owe them our applause as commissioners, because they have done one hell of a job. Okay, to continue on with the agenda, Hurricane Florence recovery consensus items.
Mr. Chair, I'll just walk you through these. I have some staff here that can answer questions if you have them. We'll just take them one at a time. The board's aware, these are items that we've briefed you at in our conference call that we've had this week. I do need formal decision on these items today so we can ratify them in the minutes. Item 1, we talked about, as our past custom has been after a hurricane event, is to waive the electrical inspection fee for any reconnect to a home related to hurricane damage. Mr. Toller, Mr. Bumgarner, Mr. Strawn are here if you have any questions, but quite frankly, we've taken the position in the past if someone had hurricane damage, it wasn't something we were looking to get reimbursed for. We want to get them back in their home and get them comfortable.
This is a big item on this. We're getting a lot of complaints from electricians. Number 1, getting permits. Number 2, some of the calls I got, I know Steve Tyson got a call. We have people that say they have only 1 inch of water in their house, and they're told because of wiring under the house that they can't go in there and do anything. Yet when Irene was here, they were able to go in there and do it. Chad, I have to call on you to kind of explain. I've given your name out because I've gotten to the point now where we've been told that, number 1, we ought to have the people call your department for a permit to get a licensed electrician if they've been stamped with a red sticker.
Yes, sir.
And then that electrician is to go to you and get a permit to take care of the electrical work. There seems to be a hang-up there somewhere, so I'd like you to address that.
Well, right after the storm, we started looking at some of the surge data reports that were coming out. We looked at the surge data specifically in Fairfield Harbor and did windshield surveys riding around the general area. And we just saw the mass number of structures that looked as though they had water in the floor of the houses. So as part of North Carolina Building Code and working with our Chief Building Inspector, Shelton Toller, we felt it was in the best interest of the citizens to make sure that these structures are safe in order to restore power to these structures. If they are energized and any of those components have been under the floodwaters, then there is possibility for fire. We put out a press release on Sunday just trying to get the word out there to folks, you know, to be careful if their structures, because some of the electrical providers were going ahead and they were energizing some of the structures. Duke Energy was energizing some structures that was underwater. We were contacted by the other 3 providers, Carteret, Craven, Tideland, and the city of Newburgh, and they wanted us to take a look at these structures to make sure that they were going to be safe in order before the power is restored. So the policy that we came up with over the weekend is that we're going to start hitting the ground in these hardest hit places, going door to door, looking the high water marks to see where the water entered the structure. At that point in time, if the water did enter the structure, we posted the structure with a red sticker. That's 1, so we can keep track of it. 2, for the power company, so they'll know that there could be some issues with those structures. After your structure is, you have the red sticker on it, then at that point in time you need to hire an electrician. Hire an electrician to take a look at your whole electric system, make sure that there's no cuts in the insulation and the wiring under the house where the floodwaters can intrude into your electric wiring, your panel boxes. We had some cases where the water was over the meters in some locations, and that's terrible for the whole electrical system. So if these individuals, if they had floodwater in any part of their electrical system, they need to have an electrician check it out. Now, we have some template letters that we've come up with for these electricians to sign that we will accept. stating that the structure is safe to return, and then we can turn the power slip into the electrical provider, and they'll go ahead and turn the power back on, as long as we get that template letter from a licensed electrician in North Carolina. Then, you know, all parties feel like the structure is safe to return power. If they had the green stickers, the meters were being restored. Titling was right behind our inspectors in Fairfield Harbor.
Yeah, they
And-
did 136 on Royal Pines yesterday.
Yes, there was a lot of structures observed yesterday, and I got a map here with me today to show you the number of structures that looked as though, based on the high water line, that there was water in those structures. And also got some numbers for those areas too.
One of the things I think we need to consider, this is not limited only to electrical permits, it's all types of permits associated with structures, from construction to insulation to mechanical systems, as well as electrical systems. So, you know, what traditionally the county has done in the past, when we had storms of this magnitude, where there was substantial damage to structures, we would actually waive the fees for any of the permits that were storm related. We would continue to monitor that, and when we reach the point that we got beyond a reasonable time to consider and expect repairs to be completed, then that policy would be done away with. Or it would be considered on a case-by-case basis, depending on the situation.
This is our current map as of 8:30 last night of the structures in which we have been to since Monday morning to take a look at over in Fairfield Harbor. Your reds, as I described before, are ones that seemed as if they had water in the electrical system or under the house.
There's approximately 40 of them.
It's going to be a lot more than that.
Well, I mean, right now, you've taken 40 meters out.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the power company.
I think it was 40.
has pulled, but we have identified 461 structures in Fairfield as of last night.
That it had some form of water underneath them, in them, that we were at the point of very much concerned as far as turning power back on.
843 were good. And we have 517 that we hope to get finished in the Fairfield Peninsula area, all down to the end of Broad Creek Road.
One of the complaints I got was that he had his generator going, and he left the house, so he turned the generator off. He claims he got only 1 inch of water in the house, and it didn't reach the sockets or anything. But he's claiming I believe it was, Steve, if I'm.
I didn't talk to him.
Okay, that, you know, he knows about electrical work and so forth, and he can't understand why he had his meter taken out.
Chad, I think Commissioner Mark, Chairman Mark, what we would like to do in those cases, if you'll have him,
I already
we can
did
go, I
that.
think we're gonna have to look, you know, we're doing a big sweep. I
Right.
think we'll have to go back and look at individual ones
Okay.
like that separately as time's available.
See, in a lot of these instances, we couldn't gain entry to the structure.
Yeah.
Folks did
Right.
not return.
That's exactly what I told him, and I understand that we're going door to door,
Yes.
and it's gonna take some time before, and there's gonna be a mistake made once or twice.
Yeah.
There's no two ways about that. I just brought it up as an illustration
Sure.
of
Yeah.
what somebody had
If any
complained
of
to
the
us.
folks contact you directly, if you'll just contact me, and
Yeah.
then we'll do a second
Right.
sweep on that.
Chad, can you please, Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Chad, can you just briefly describe, you said letters?
Yes, I got copies of those I can leave for you today.
That'd
So
be
if you
very
have
helpful, but
folks
if you
that-
could just, for the
Yeah.
viewing audience, if you could describe what the letters do?
Okay, this is what we call the condition for restoring power.
Okay?
This is a template letter that the licensed electrician would sign. The basic statements in here, it says the house has been determined to be safe for use, habitation. This means that there are no wires below the height of the water inundation. If there was water above the height of those wires, then verify there's no cut and breaks in the lines where water can intrude into the insulation of those wires. If there was intrusion into the wires, then electrician, if he replaced it, he can also sign. So this is an all-encompassing, from no damage, possible damage, minor damage, to full replacement.
Okay.
He signed, this is covers all. If we can just get that from the electrician, then we can get their power restored. Another form in which we've developed is a temporary power agreement. This is given the option, maybe in some cases, as you guys there, the electric panel in this house is going to be utilized as a temporary power source. So this temporary power, temp pole, to start the recovery process, so you can get your Serv Pros, your different companies in there in order to get your house dried out, or rehab companies.
Mr. Chairman, could I ask a question on that? All right, so let's back up a little bit. You're gonna energize the house, and the panel box is gonna operate as a temporary power pole. What will be done on that to isolate the potential, circuits that have been compromised or possibly compromised?
No, I will continue on. No circuits may be connected to the panel other than the circuits being utilized as temporary service. All of these circuits must meet National Electric Code requirements. If other circuits are found to be installed power will be disconnected.
Okay.
So you're going to use your panel as your temporary panel.
It's effectively a workaround, rather than having to establish the pole. This is a way to utilize your current system to energize at least the limited needs that you might have in order to get the service in there to meet the.
And have the electrician verify
Right.
that and sign that your
I want
existing
to thank
panels.
you very much for your creativity in coming up with this solution, and I think that this will be very helpful to many folks.
I think it will.
Now, that's after you gotta get the electrician first to do that.
Yeah. Well, you can do one of two things. If you want to take it slow and you want the slow recovery process, say you got somewhere else to stay, if you need to get back in your structure as soon as possible, then this could be an option. If you have living quarters elsewhere, say a frog or another
Yeah.
isolated section of the house where you wouldn't be living where it was damaged.
Even, now, if you have a frog and you got a heat pump up there and you've got a connection that goes in,
I think you'd be able to utilize this letter, and I can confer to Shelton if I'm wrong, but I think you could be able to use this temporary power arrangement to do that.
I think we can still do that as long as we can verify that the wiring being used has not been contaminated in any way.
okay.
So the other thing that the chairman mentioned is that the requirement that the electrician get a permit before they come in. Is that the case, or can an electrician just come in without having to come to you folks first, take a look at the property, then get a copy of that letter, sign it, and then submit it to y'all? Is there a permit necessary for any of this?
Well, if they're gonna be doing work, say if they're gonna be pulling the old lines out and just reestablishing new lines, yes, a permit would be required, which they have to by the North Carolina licensing requirements as an electrician.
Okay?
They're gonna do that to protect themselves, to make sure they have the
Will
permit.
they need a permit for the second letter, the other letter that you've mentioned, the temporary pole?
No, we would just take these on that property if we've already looked at this property, right? And then you would go out to verify.
Everyone still come in and apply for a permit. I mean, there's no charge permit, they can do it over the phone. We've had people fax them in, we've had people just calling them,
Okay.
calling us, giving us the information for it, trying to save time to make the process as good as we can with the situation.
We've really loosened up the way in which we normally do business to help speed up the process for the citizens.
I think general statute, North Carolina statute would require them to have a permit for doing any work. So the general statute would override that, but we can work within that as to what point we can go to on it. So that's why we try to do this, to make it easier.
Okay, thank you.
Because your restoration companies are gonna be coming in and they're gonna have their own generators and start charging a lot of money just for that.
They do. I found out yesterday, there was one of them, the first thing they asked was if you have power, they want more than just your typical generator for them to run their fans and dehumidifiers.
Right.
So they charge you to bring extra to bring in their generator on top of what the fee is. If we can get the power established, then they can still have a 220 circuit or 110, whichever one they need, at the house that they can use, and they won't have to charge the customer for that.
I was quoted a $7,000 upcharge by not being able to get this done. and, I mean, this has got to get fixed.
Yeah. We'll all get the same
Yeah.
thing then.
Mr. Chair, if the,
Yes.
I mean, just make sure the board's aware of what this motion is that you'd be considering. It'd be to waive the electrical fees for reconnect inspection permits as related to hurricane damage related to Hurricane Florence.
Okay.
Yeah, I was gonna come to that.
Move the adoption of that.
I have a second. Second. All in favor, say aye.
I'm not finishing discussion.
Okay.
I just
All
want to
right,
make
I'm
sure we
sorry.
got the motion
Yeah,
out.
okay. I want to go ahead and, we're still in discussion, right?
Yeah.
All right, Stanley had a plan, they brought in before the storm, help in the Emergency Operations Center, and it worked beautifully. It saved lives. I'm sure of that. Does the state emergency operations have any contingency plans for inspectors to be brought in from outside counties? That, because you're overwhelmed now. You were overwhelmed before the storm. Now you got people are homeless and they got to get back in the construction of their homes. What is that plan for bringing in double the amount of inspectors that you have?
We actually worked with administration shortly after, I think it was on Monday, and we just saw the scope in which that we had before us. And we worked through the EOC, and we have got 2 inspectors from the city of Greenville that most graciously agreed to come down here and help us. And that's really what's given our other staff the ability to get this far in Fairfield Harbor. Tideland's having a difficult time keeping up with our inspectors.
Yeah.
We're moving so swiftly. And
Is
then
2 gonna be enough, Chad?
we may,
We're requesting,
depending on-
since I'm handling that part, Commissioner Tyson, we've been working with the state. There's a distinct need for this, the whole eastern seaboard,
Right.
so we're kind of having to get in line. We were very lucky to get the 2. And let me tell you, the one thing about one of the 2 was a former employee of Craven County who knew us and was able to go really quickly. We still have a request for 2 additional ones in. We're waiting for those to free up. Again, people, in most of the state, we're still working this week, so we're hoping to get more people in as they catch up. But I think, hopefully, Chad, we would double our staff if we can get the 2 additional that we
That's
normally
correct.
have.
Mhm, that's correct.
So we're 50% more now, working to go to 100%.
Yes, sir.
Any other
Don't
discussion?
let money get in the way of
Getting this
fixing
done.
that problem. 'Cause
Understood.
if that gets in the way of it, I think this board would say that's not the problem.
No, I
We
agree.
gotta get as many inspectors as are required to get this back as quickly as we can.
Thank you.
Yes,
Mr.
Mr.
Chairman,
Lina.
this is completely, it's tied to this, but it's not what we're making a motion for. The inspectors, how do the municipalities get an additional inspector? Do they have to go on their own? Can they come to you?
Right. So right now, because we're still under the emergency protocols, most of that's coming, all of it's coming through the county, going through the state EOC if they're requesting a state asset. Nothing stops a municipality from calling another municipality somewhere else in the state and saying, hey, can you loan me a couple inspectors? That's between them and that. The official request through the EOC's got to come through the county, be put through our program and our process next door.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
I have an additional map for Trent Woods, since we do the building inspections for the town of Trent Woods. And we are finished with Trent Woods for what the power that's on City of Newburgh power lines there.
Okay.
We're not seeing as much damage in these areas of Trent Woods as what we've seen in Fairfield Harbor. We have 45 structures damaged to the point that we could not recommend for power to be restored to those structures. 1,158 were good.
So basically, you're recommending that any structure where we have water, and I'll use mine as an example, because my meter's been lifted, is we would be better off holding off the restoration companies from doing work until we can get this hookup that you were talking about.
I would be happy to provide you this temporary power agreement. I think that's, try to work in your box and get an electrician to let you utilize that. It will save you a lot of money,
Okay.
a lot on the front end. That way that they can utilize that existing box to be able to get you on the road to recovery.
Okay.
I think what we're trying to do, and I think Commissioner Dacey hit on it, Chairman, is we're trying to give people options. We're trying to give them
Yeah.
anything we have that'll
Right.
help them get back in sooner. So whatever that is,
Yeah.
we're trying, and we'll continue to think outside the box. We're still looking at stuff as we move forward.
Yeah, you know, there's no two ways about it. People have got to be patient. The county's had a tremendous storm, one of the biggest storms we've ever had. And we have to go slow so that we don't lose any houses, as you said, from fire.
Yes.
That's the last thing we need.
The other issue that a lot of people don't realize is that their heating and air conditioning systems, if they've been compromised with water, that's another potential issue that needs to be addressed, as well as all the ductwork underneath the house.
And the insulation.
Yeah, I think we're getting ready to hit that one and two more down. We're gonna
Yeah,
get to what
that
you're
comes
talking
two
about.
more down. All right, is there any more discussion on the first one?
Mr. Chairman, I'd just like to make one quick point in, you know, we have to operate within the bounds of the law, and they're doing that, and they are doing some creative thinking to try to expedite things, but the hazard is real. In Irene, my brother's house had flooded, and it caused an electrical fire and burnt to the ground. It's a real hazard of cutting the juice back on the place.
Yeah, I remember that.
So, you have to be extremely careful with appliances and anything, Don, that's underwater, especially HVAC stuff.
Yeah, and most of your appliances, you're gonna find the motors are on the bottom of the machines. And if you've had 4 to 6 inches of water, you know those things are not gonna work right.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
when, I was home the other day, the electric truck was coming by installing transformers. And the guy, I was one of the last one just about got my power on. But the guy had threw it, or the transformer exploded before he got a chance to turn my lights on. So he had to go get other transformers. I don't know what he did to stop that explosion, but that one didn't explode. But it's really critical, and we have to work careful without surviving.
Yeah, water and electricity does not work well together.
right. All right, we have a motion and a second on the floor. All in favor of the waive of the electrical fees for connection to inspection permits related to hurricane damage? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Nays? The ayes have it. Next one is B, waive.
Letters.
Excuse me?
Make sure he gets the letters.
Mr. Chair, item B, this was one, again, we discussed about the other day. We have wells that are still operational in this county, private drinking wells. There is a process, if those things may have been flooded, that has to take place through our environmental health department. As in with past protocol and past hurricane events, we have waived the well testing safety check fees. We would request that you do that for this event.
Okay.
So move.
Second.
Discussion. Being there's no discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Nays? The ayes have it. Number C,
Mr. Chair, as in, again, I'm going to say this a lot, as in the former protocol, what we've had, we run a convenience site system here in Craven County that uses the trash sticker program. We would ask that during this event, we waive this trash stickers only at the convenience sites for any storm-related municipal solid waste. It's the only thing that requires a cost at the site. We're going to waive that for any bagged trash.
that's raw garbage.
Correct, and I would waive that for a period of time of 2 weeks. I know it doesn't say that in your notes, but I would waive it from 2 weeks from yesterday.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Before we go, you made the statement, anything in plastic bags, you made the statement, raw garbage. It should be anything in the plastic bag, is that correct?
Yes, sir, we're not trying to categorize it. If you bring a white trash bag from your kitchen and you bring it to the convenience site, we're not gonna require a sticker for that.
I know, but I mean, raw garbage meaning food. I'm saying anything that's in that plastic bag is gonna go.
Anything in a white trash, black trash bag, you bring to the site, we're not going to require a sticker.
All right.
You're agnostic as to the color of the bag?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, you don't even have to bring it back if you don't want to.
Huh?
You don't even have to bring it back if you
Yeah.
don't want to. We'll take,
Let me
any
say,
municipal
yeah.
solid waste.
Let me say this, I passed the convenience center last night, and it was really in bad shape. This morning I passed it, it's all emptied out and ready to go again.
Got a great team.
And we're open on Friday, I guess we're gonna stay open how long, Jack?
We're going to hit that in just a few letters.
Okay.
We're going to come down and get that.
All right. All right, so that's convenience stickers. I have a motion.
Second.
Wait.
No,
we
that's
don't
a
have
second. I need a motion
So
first.
moved.
So, second.
Second. Okay, all those in favor? Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Nays? The ayes have it. Okay, Jack.
Yes, sir. Item 4 gets back to what Mr. Bumgarner was mentioned a few moments ago, and as we've discussed with you on the conference calls, and as we've done in previous times, we would like to waive any permit fees for any repairs / reconstruction to any structure, residential structure in Craven County that we have authority over to repair hurricane damage. We have done this in the past. I will be honest with you, we've never had the scope of this before, as widespread as this would be, but again, we're not out from our conversations looking to be remunerated for something that otherwise shouldn't have been done.
Okay.
So moved.
Second.
All those any discussion on that? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Nays? The ayes have it.
Item E, we discussed with you, there are facilities that will need to be created that are called disaster recovery centers. These are a conglomeration of federal, state, nonprofit, and county resources to assist our citizens putting their lives back together. We had one most recently during Hurricane Matthew in Vanceboro. It was inside the old Family Dollar building. In this event right now, it's certainly fluid. We're looking at possibly 2 centers. Again, we can only ask for things. This has to be approved by FEMA for what they'll actually staff. At the moment, Mr. Grady and I have gotten some new information last night that we may have a little process with FEMA that we have to go through rather than just getting leases. But we're looking for authority to either the county manager or the chair to authorize a lease agreement, if necessary, to have at least 2 DRCs, one in New Bern and one in Havelock.
So move.
Second. Any discussion on that?
I should add that these are typically not a reimbursable expense through the FEMA program. as we-
One question on that. Now, that debris is gonna consist of what? That would be removed from to these sites?
I'm sorry, sir.
No, we're in.
These are disaster recovery
Number E.
centers. These are the facilities where we'll have the FEMA and state, nonprofit, local folks.
Oh, okay, okay.
It's like a
I'm sorry, I'm
clearinghouse to
sorry.
get assistance.
You're right, I jumped down
Yes.
one. Okay, we have a motion and we have a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Nays? The ayes have it.
Okay. Item F. We talked with you the other day. We have a normal schedule for county convenience centers. It is Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, and Sunday. We are obviously open today because we made that decision earlier in the week on our conference call. I want to formally get approval from this point forward, at least for 2 weeks. We tried to run on a everyday schedule. I would like the option, after a period of time, to take a break somewhere in there because we do have staffing issues. We do not have a lot of staff to fill in the gaps here. I would say that pause probably needs to happen middle next week, Tuesday, Wednesday. We'll certainly notify that, but I'd like to get it back open and try to run this again as much as we can. We may have individual staffing issues at particular sites that may require closure. I still have employees that are unable to come to work. So again, I'll say this about any county function at this point. We are not 100%. If anything, we're probably somewhere around 60, and we're gonna limp for a while, but we're gonna do the best we can to get open where we can. So at this point, I'd ask you to keep the schedule until middle next week, close for a day, clean up the sites, give the staff a break at home, try to open back up with periodic site closures as necessary.
Comment, what day is that can be closed?
I haven't decided yet, sir. I'd like to determine that, if you wouldn't mind. I'd like to have the authority to determine that based on our staffing and how tired they are.
Okay, thank you.
Okay,
So move.
Second.
all right. Any discussion on that?
He was asking.
Yeah, I was asking a question, what was gonna go in there, Jack?
What can go in the convenience sites? Anything we normally take.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I do have one question. Jack, are there any opportunities for volunteers to help with that process, or is it too much liability at the convenience
I'd like to
sites?
take those on a case by case, Steve. I think there is an opportunity, but again, my attorney's sitting here and he may differ with me after this meeting's over, because we are running heavy equipment there and things. I want to be sure. But I'm also not, from the situation where I'm not averse to firing temporary help if we can find it.
Okay.
I'm sure there's people that are unemployed that didn't want to be unemployed right now that may want to come back to work.
Yeah, also in those convenience centers, I've had people complaining, if you ask any of the people in those centers to help you put the garbage up because you can't reach the cylinders or anything else, they're perfectly willing to do it.
Yes, sir. I mean, ability by time and place, sir.
Correct.
If it's clogging up the system any by not having enough boots on the ground there, please consider that, and do you have the authority to do it without action from this board?
I think you're going to give me the authority to do that maybe a
Okay.
little bit later.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question, please.
Yes.
Didn't you mention one time that on the highway streets, you can put trash if the convenience is full?
I'd prefer them not to put it on the highways and streets out front of the sites because it's just going to cause a logistical
I
problem.
mean,
the next
somebody said
morning.
you could put it on between the ditch and the white line.
Now, that's curbside pickup, which we'll talk about in just a little bit. That would be a different program than the convenience centers. Convenience
Okay.
centers are where you can take it, put it in a can, and then we take it straight to the landfill. What you're more talking about is putting it out front of your house, and then someone comes by and picks it up in a truck.
Well, not trash, but limbs from the
Yes, sir.
storm.
We're gonna, that's the second part of this
Okay.
program. This was getting normal trash operations like we see every day.
Okay.
Okay, so we're at E, if I'm not mistaken, are we not?
What, I'm sorry, sir.
We're at E,
Yeah.
Actually, we were on F,
F.
F, keep
and I just
solid
need
waste
a,
convenience sites open Thursday, Sunday. We have a motion.
Move to accept.
Second,
Second.
all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it.
G does not, I'd ask you just to skip G. I got that under control. I don't need
Okay.
I don't need a, answer there. Sir, at this time, I'd like to have Craig Warren come up and give you a brief on the finance section.
Good morning.
Morning.
I have for you this morning, for your consideration, a budget amendment that appropriates $2.5 million from the county's fund balance. This is a preliminary estimate and is needed to cover the costs incurred for emergency repairs that we've already incurred as a county, and estimated costs as we head into the recovery phase of this storm. Much of this we fully expect to recoup through insurance and FEMA over the coming year.
Okay, so you're asking us to issue $2.5 million to the county manager to pay all these bills.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I have a motion,
Second.
discussion.
From fund balance to what account?
We'll
Just
dump them in the,
Yeah,
Okay.
what we've done is create a Hurricane Florence account
Okay.
in our general ledger to capture all the costs related to the storm. So it's $2.5 million from the fund balance to this one general ledger account.
and Craig, I think we need to be clear. This probably is not the total picture here. This is a starting point.
No, I
this is,
understand.
I don't want anybody
that.
to think that this is
Correct.
public or anyone.
We have to understand here, and I remember from Irene, we had to extend $3.5 million because FEMA didn't pay us the money for 3 years.
There's certainly a lag in time, yes.
This,
Yeah.
this is the reason why we carry a fund balance.
Okay.
Yeah.
I would like a roll call vote on that, please.
Commissioner
What's
Liner?
the question? I stepped out.
Yes.
Commissioner McCabe,
What's the question, please? I stepped out.
The question is providing $2.5 million, moving it from fund balance to a special account that will provide for the needs
Oh.
in reference to
Yes.
Hurricane Paul.
Commissioner Sampson,
Yes.
Commissioner Tyson,
Yes.
Vice Chair Dacey,
Yes.
Chairman Moore.
Yes.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Next is authorization, Chairman Mark,
Tuesday.
ability to execute and deliver documents and instruments for hurricane recovery.
Mr. Chair, I'm gonna let Mr. Grady.
Mr. Chair, members of the board, we're trying to fashion what I would
characterize as emergency ad hoc authority on behalf of the chairman, frankly, to do what's necessary to facilitate the hurricane recovery efforts. Normally, the execution of contracts and things of this nature would routinely come before the full board. We're trying to fashion a stopgap measure so you guys don't have to meet in formal session daily to look at all the things that need to be done. The safeguards on this, it would be things that the county manager or the assistant county manager, or frankly me as attorney to the county, say, Mr. Chairman, you need to do this, it's a good thing to do. And then the further safeguard is that weekly staff would report to the board on actions taken under this authority. What we also need to do, in my opinion, and getting a little bit ahead of ourselves on the agenda, we need to recess this meeting and not adjourn to a time certain next week, so we don't have to notice, we don't have to go through that process. I think if we rolled this meeting, say every 2 days, everybody would be able to stay up to speed on what gets approved and how it gets approved. So my preference certainly would be to bring items before the full board for discussion and approval. But by the same token, these are mission critical items, and if we have to act, we'd like to have the authority to do what's necessary. I fashioned the motion on page 2. I'm glad to answer any questions you may have, or if there's a different direction the board wants to go.
I think from my analysis, what we try to avoid in these situations, because of the situation we're in, it requires almost instantaneous decision making, because we're dealing with a lot of factors outside of our normal county control. We're dealing directly with the federal and state governmental situations that need minutes, not days. I will tell you, one of the worst things I think that could happen to us is going to be any type of paralysis on decision making. This is an opportunity to avoid that with a lot of safeguards. I know it's not how we normally operate, quite frankly. It's kind of foreign to me, but it's something that probably needs to be in place.
We did a certain amount of this on the execution of the evacuation, mandatory evacuation, and the non-mandatory.
Well, it is not, it's a very good analogy with your crisis ordinance. In that ordinance, a lot of that authority is delegated to the chairman to act unilaterally. So, that's not a bad analogy. And I can assure the board that we will report all items back to the full board, and you gentlemen will know what's going on. We just don't want to get stuck for 2 or 3 days waiting to reconvene to take action.
I'll make a motion.
Motion has been made, a second.
Second.
Any discussion?
Should there be an expiration on this, or does there need to be an expiration?
That's not a bad thought. We certainly can put an expiration on it, or we can rescind the authority when we, in a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, get out of the woods, whatever the board.
Can I provide a suggestion on that? I think I see where you're going. I would make it that process last at least until your next regularly scheduled commission meeting, which would be in the first meeting in October. And then by that time, we should have developed a better process, and it won't be so rapid as that, I think.
Yeah, and if it needs to be extended, then
We can do it then.
we can do it.
Yeah.
I would support that. Do we need to
Make that motion.
amend it, or we've got a second on that? Can I amend that to have a date certain on it?
Yes, sir. If we can get a second on the amendment.
I'll second.
Yeah, okay.
I'd like any more discussion on that? I'd like a roll call vote, please.
Okay, do we need to approve the first one and then
I think we did.
amend it?
didn't we?
No.
No.
Yeah. We we can do either. Let's approve the,
Motion.
let's approve them together because it's technically an amended motion at this point.
Yeah, that's correct. Okay. So I have a motion on that?
Yep.
Second?
Second.
Roll call vote.
Commissioner Liner,
Yes.
Commissioner McCabe,
Yes.
Commissioner Sampson,
Yes.
Commissioner Tyson,
Yes.
Vice Chair Dacey,
Yes.
Chairman Moore.
Yes. Department head hurricane updates.
Mr. Chair, if you would indulge me, the board would indulge me to put 4 and 6 together, I think I can move through this just sort of methodically. So my
Okay.
county manager's report and also the department head reports. I want to thank the commissioner to start with for being available to me. It's been a tough road for all of us, and your ability to talk to me and work with me on these issues hasn't gone unnoticed with me and my staff. I want you to know that. You guys have been out in the community giving us feedback that we desperately need. So thank you. I want to start with that. Second, I can't tell you enough about the county employees who have been with us for the last 9 days in the middle of this. Most of them haven't slept. Most of them have had to sleep in places they normally wouldn't. And a lot of them have done things that I've never asked them to do. I had a philosophy since last Friday. There is no longer a department line. We are one county, period. So without getting overwhelmed with emotion, I'm going to leave that there. I think you guys have seen our capabilities with your own eyes as you've been working with us. It is simply amazing what we've been able to do and what our folks have been able to do here, and I'm honored to be with them. So with that said, I'm going to start by giving you a quick update on the damage assessment. I didn't have anybody from tax here because quite frankly, they need to be in the field doing their work. Sorry about that. I got a report from Glenn Jones, Chief Building Inspector, last night. They have been doing, I believe now, 4 full days of damage assessment. Yesterday, the report was they've done 40 commercial structures, potential loss $2.45 million. That's a low number because they focused on residential first. This was only in the Havelock area, Commissioner Liner, is where they got into yesterday. And there's still some places in there that, you know, we hadn't got to that are going to cause that number to go up. As of yesterday, we've looked at 1,933 residential structures. We're looking at a loss number of $65 million right now. And I just want to be clear, that is a very small scope of the county. We have, and I wish I knew the number of buildings off the top of my head. It's left me, but it's in the tens of thousands, not thousands. So you can see this, we're at roughly 2,000. We've got a long way to go. However, we're hitting the hardest hit areas first. Commissioner Mark, we've been out in Fairfield. Commissioner Dacey, we've been in Riverbend. Commissioner Liner, we've been in Havelock. Commissioner McKay, we've been in Harlow. Commissioner Sampson, the city's doing a lot of the damage assessment there, and we're getting their data and able to try to wrap it together. So we're in your communities. Of course, as you get further west, the better it gets. The further east you go in places, the worse it gets. But there's no real untouched area in the county at this moment. So I want to give you those preliminary numbers. We have a very unique software that we have developed as this process that is available across the street on one of the screens that gives you real time as the inspectors are out. It's updating. Anytime you need that data, if you don't mind just calling there, and they'll be happy to share it with you. So that's the tax report. Any questions on that?
Jack, without
Yes.
taking, Mr. Chairman, what would we use that data for? If
It's describing the need for,
So if we're out in the field, or we run into a policymaker, somebody at the state level, federal
Yeah.
level, we would have that available to us to help describe the level of impact to
Yeah,
our community.
there's certain instances and processes that will be in that we have to describe the scope of our problem.
Okay, what is the phone number we would use there?
636-6608, and all that phone number will allow for is someone in the room to answer and give you the number on the screen.
Okay.
6 is what again?
6608,
Oh. okay. Thank you.
same emergency operations
right,
number
okay.
we've been using. We are so pleased this morning to have with us Mike Carroll from the agriculture community. Mike, I'd like for you to come just give us a quick review of the agriculture issues that we may face.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
I have several pages of notes, but I'll make it very brief. Our staff is all safe. We do have one staff that is still in Virginia. Her home apparently has flooded, and so she has been working to coordinate and has done an outstanding job of keeping up with some of our key critical areas that have flooded in the past, mostly swine facilities. So she has been coordinating a lot of our efforts. We have another who was stranded in Jacksonville, so she is now working with the Onslow County Extension. She hopes to get back home to to Havelock today. The rest of us started working Sunday, and we were evaluating field crop damage, and I will tell you that initial estimates showed about $10 million loss on what we're projecting, what might have been a $30 million production farm sales. That number is going to increase for two reasons. Number one, the evaluations, the way they are conducted, only allow for the damage done by the storm that day. Number two, there were a lot of areas that we could not access. We still have no reports from the western part of the county, parts of Dover, simply because we could not get to those areas. So a lot of that will increase. Structural damage has been an ongoing event, but I think that will be minimum compared to some of the other structural damage that are closer to New Bern. North Carolina State University has a web page, and I would encourage you to let others know because they're adding critical updates, working with FEMA and emergency management in the state regarding carcass disposal, landfill options for debris, and minute-by-minute updates. They've also positioned most of the agricultural specialists in a center, and they're available by email and conference calls. We have daily web updates at 4:30 if any of you want to participate or get information from that. We are working at the moment to, as County Manager Jack White said, we're kind of thin, but we're sharing times working at one of the pods at Tabernacle. We have manned that site with at least 2 of us, as well as volunteers and our armed servicemen. And I wish I had a number of people we've helped, but I don't know that for sure. I can tell you, I thought I was pretty good at working long hours, and I am, but I've learned I'm not as good at as young as I used to be. Somewhere around the 10th or 12th pallet of water unloading, I said, you know, that's tough. So we've got a lot of great folks that are kicking in, and we'll continue to do so. If you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer those. Well, there is one other thing that I do want to mention, and I was asked, if you don't mind. Most of the farmers, we've had actually a lot of requests for reports, from reporters wanting us to interview with farmers, and we're simply not allowed to give that information out. But what is important is farmers are not doing a lot right now. I think it's important for you to understand that unharvested corn and tobacco is 100% gone. There will be some that try to salvage it, but we can't get it to the grain buying stations. And even if we do, those leaf or the kernels of corn are going to be so damaged that if we don't get them into the market right away, they're going to be destroyed. Other crops, such as peanuts or cotton, will not be harvested until later. But every 3 days that we have saturated soils, we're likely to lose 50% of that crop.
Soy too, I would imagine.
Soybeans are very variable. And if you ride through the county, there's some that seem untouched. There's others that are 100% gone. And our emphasis for now has been to make sure that people who have grain bins or people who have hog facilities have ample electricity and feed. And we have made personal contacts, phone calls, personal visits, and to date we have no reports of that. It's primarily field crop damage. One notable thing that farmers have asked me to relay to you is that they have equipment. I got a text as I was walking in. Some of Jones County is the floods are beginning to recede, And some of the farmers are taking envoys of generators and trucks and large generators, PTO-type generators. So if you find yourself in a need, they're willing to volunteer and provide assistance and equipment. The other is there are many services and programs available through USDA, but most of these are designed by nature to cover shallow loss. And what we've experienced is, as County Manager Jack I'll get it right in a minute. As our County Manager Jack has said, this is so widespread. We're going to be 50 to 75% loss of income. Even the insurance, the personal insurance for some of these crops will not cover the loss that we had. In addition, some of the relief efforts that were allowed, because of the tariffs, many of the commodity prices were depressed, and there was some federal relief efforts to assist with that program, but that program requires, or the program is based on harvested acres in 2018, and we will have a lot of unharvested acres, so our farmers will not be eligible for that relief, and that's something they're asking for.
It seems like a good takeaway, Mike, when we talk with our federal delegation. That seems like something we could try to work with them on. Great. Any questions for Ag Update?
No, Commissioner Lyon?
If I may, if you could get something and related to that for the 2018 federal crop, so we can talk to our federal delegation.
Mike, can you send me 2 or 3 sentences on email?
Yes, I can do that.
And another thing you said about farmers giving out the information, I truly appreciate that. But just so the public is aware, Commissioner Jones has reached out this morning. He has a couple of farmers with him. He is interviewing live with Fox and CNN for the Farm Bureau. That's why he is not here. So he is trying to get to some of the sites so they can actually see and put it out there to them. So, but I appreciate what you did for that, saying that. But we are trying to get them.
Yes, the entire community, I will say, as like Jack said, I won't get too emotional, but everyone has chipped in. We've had folks at the pods bring in things from Raleigh, even the edge of Wilmington. I've had friends that we work in coordinating test plots and research from California and Kentucky who said they're bringing truckloads of whatever we need. So that's been overwhelming.
And you're using that area up there where for distribution?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Right. Okay. You know, as Commissioner Jones most of his district is agriculture, and a good part of my district is agriculture. The farmers need all the help they can get, and unfortunately, we don't know what that crest is going to do from
Correct.
Kingston.
And I want to add, and we have no idea what the flood is doing. We're getting daily requests to want acres for that, because all flooded crops aren't eligible to be put in the food chain, and that takes a very special type of disposal. And the NCDA we're working closely with them and stay in communication, so they are waiving a lot of the fees and other associated testing. And to give you some idea, some of the $200 to $1,000 per test is routine. So they're waiving a lot of those fees likewise. So we're asking folks who have flooded crops to move through that program, not into our food channel.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. County Manager, I've noticed most of the people that are here today reporting have notes. We've been taking notes, but I don't know how copious we take notes. We would like to have copies of what they have reported to each commissioner, so that we have all those points available to us.
We'll ask Nan to go ahead and do the minutes quick, so
Okay.
you can go get you a draft out to you, so you can cover those points.
Thank you.
And I'll be glad to send county management a copy after I type it up. And I didn't say so, but I have been in contact and given them county estimates on crop damage. I don't remember the exact number. It was, early reports were around $9 million in farm sales alone.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mike.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, can she also get the notes that Stanley Kite had, some of those? Not everything, but some of them?
I think
Sure.
we asked for all that.
I think most of what Stammy gave was in your situational report. I
Right,
can send
right.
it to you from last night. I
Okay.
think that's probably the most recent data. Thanks, Mike. All right, next, Chad and Don, did you guys have anything to add that you didn't cover earlier? If you do, go, I mean, I'm just giving you an opportunity to have you down as a department that's been reporting.
We can talk about that a little bit. As part of this process, we're dealing with the immediate needs, and also as we go through this process of recovery, one of the things that we will be doing, and we are doing at this time, is continuing to collect information from individuals that would like to have possibly, some type of assistance to elevate their home. So we are collecting that information, and as we man the disaster recovery centers, we hope to have at least a staff person there all the time that each of these centers is open or available, so that we can try to start collecting what we call the long-term recovery process, so that in the future, 5 years out, 10 years out, we won't continue to have the same repetitive problem over and over again. And a part of that collection process will depend on how the federal government structures the ability for people to apply for that type of assistance. So many unknowns, but we are trying to at least, while the issue is occurring, collect the information from the people. We start with a database that we can draw from, and when funds become available, to see what we can do to get more structures and more people out of harm's way.
Now, the current rules for that is a 50%.
The current rules deal basically with structures that have been flooded more than one time, at least 2 events, and it has to be considered cost effective for the federal flood insurance program to allocate the money to that structure to raise it.
And what would be the amount of money that they allocate as an average?
It could be up to $150,000, but the amount of payouts that they've made on the structure will determine how much they will provide in the way of immediate assistance to that structure. So the ones that they've had higher payouts on, they've had 2 events and they've paid maybe $80,000, an average of $80,000, that would be becoming more cost effective for them to elevate it. If they've only paid out small amounts of claims, even if it's 2 events, in the past, they have not recognized that as being significant enough to, again, spend up to $150,000.
And these are all people who are paying for flood insurance?
These funds come totally from the federal flood insurance program to the state of North Carolina, and they come out of a program the state has called hazard mitigation assistance. Chad, do you have anything else?
No, I was going to bring up another point that I didn't in my report a little earlier. On Saturday, we had started getting the reports that the Neuse River was going to be rising, and flooding a lot of the same areas that flooded during Matthew and Floyd. So we enlisted the support of the National Guard to carry us to the locations along River Road that flooded, like the areas of Cowpen Landing, Maple Cypress, Rainbow Lake, the Chips community. And we went out door to door with the National Guard and placing notices on the folks' doors, just letting them know that the water could be rising in their community like we're starting to see now.
And a lot of these people are still in hotels because we haven't got the payments from the federal government actually they're going to the federal government, but we haven't got it from the state to take care of these people.
Of the 100 households that we went to, we may only spoke to maybe 10 to 20 folks. So people are still away from those areas, and hopefully they're evacuated from those areas as the water comes up.
I'm assuming you're talking about the River Road corridor.
Yes.
I don't think Mr. Kite mentioned it, but because the isolation has now been for several days and will continue for several days, we're actually trying to get in there early today, make sure there's no one that needs to be removed. So this morning we'll be working with federal assets on that. And I guess you were talking about how many people were there?
Just the notification that we
Yeah.
went through on Saturday.
Some of
before
yeah. Good news story in this, which used to be a bad news story, is that some of the homes were still unoccupied because of Hurricane Matthew, meaning there were less people in there that needed to be removed.
The only thing other than I would say about that is that I did attend a meeting at Cherry Point Airport where the president was. He is going to pour as much money into North Carolina to help us and all of the facilities and anything that they can get to us. So I hope that's encouraging.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, could I say something, Chad? Because Don brought up the point of, elevating homes due to the repetitive flooding situation. Two things. When you have an event like this, do typically the federal government put more into that program? You know, typically we've been getting 7, 8 to 10 homes each year that we've elevated that were in the repetitive flood program. Is that? And then the second question is, there were several homes that I just know of, that I personally know of, where homes had been elevated and still flooded. And so the government needs to rethink how high up they're gonna put them if they're gonna go through the massive expense of elevating.
Well, you're 100% correct on that. You know, the county does have what they call a freeboard standard that we adopted years ago, which is above and beyond the mandatory 100-year floodplain.
And that is 10 foot.
And that currently would be 10 feet. Now that is, in that particular scenario, it wouldn't be 10 foot across the whole county because some areas of the county, the flood elevations
Or higher.
are higher than 10 foot. So it's 2 foot above whatever the base flood elevation
Right.
in that
Okay.
area would
Right.
be. But anyway, as a result of that, we know that on some of those homes we raised, we were very surprised to see actually how high it did go on those homes. It exceeded the 100-year flood elevation. This event did.
Well, and I don't think that they take into their calculation the waves. I mean, because you had 2 foot waves and even behind my house, they had probably 3.5, 4 foot waves. I don't think that calculus is taken
No,
into
I don't think so
consideration.
either.
So if you got the water came up 10 foot, essentially you're gonna have damage up to 12 foot or more higher.
I think as a result of this storm, there's been a lot of discussion with the state officials about how we fared and how well the maps, how accurate those maps were. And I do think that it will definitely delay our new flood mapping coming out. I would agree. As a result of that, we do know, yes, that some of the homes that were built to base flood elevation prior to our conversions, those homes had water in it. Some of the homes that we elevated that were in areas exposed to wave action, they got minimal damage, but they got damage. But a lot of them in areas that weren't subject to the wave action, they worked out fine. So we're going to continue to have conversations with the state about that and make them aware. In fact, they had a representative in town yesterday and was meeting with the town of Trenton.
If I'm not mistaken, Irene was not taken into account on those new flood maps, is that correct?
When the original new mapping that they gave us to look at was given to us, we saw things on there we were very concerned about. We brought it to their attention. We actually went up and had a conversation with them in Raleigh, took all of our information, and they said that Hurricane Irene, the information was not included in their model. So therefore, I think they will probably be looking at maybe either running a new model or adding additional elevation as a result of what we have seen in this storm.
Yeah, okay.
Did you have another?
The second part was, do you know if there would typically be more money from FEMA put in a community, in an event like this, or no?
It depends on the event, and the declaration in the amount of funds that would be, input into the hazard mitigation grant program. During Matthew, there was special appropriations just for mitigation funds for home damage in Matthew, and so forth with Irene. So, yeah, they allocate a lot more than their traditional year-to-year allocations.
But one of the problems, they're allocating more, but one of the problems is there's such a large magnitude of structures that are affected. Therefore, it very well dilutes itself, unless it is just an all-out effort to address every structure that is needed.
Thank you. Mr. County Manager, is there anything you want to put under that Department of Head?
Yeah,
Hurricane?
I got two more critical ones, and one of them just walked out of the room, but I'm gonna let Steve Creel, Chad, and Don, if you guys need to get back, I've kept you long enough this morning. I think we've gotten everything we need. I know y'all got a lot of work to do. Steve, can you just give us a real quick overview of county buildings? As everybody can see, guys, as I mentioned the word limping, we're even limping in here today, but Steve's worked really hard that we can be in here, and it might not be comfortable, but we're gonna try to get.
Well, it's a lot more comfortable than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
There's several buildings, basically, out of the 30-plus places, we've got really 9 locations that we're really focused and working in. Courthouse, of course, St. Luke's Senior Center, Convention Center, admin obviously here, were the places that received most of the damage. I'll just keep the synopsis of what we're doing. We're working with restoration company, that we've had in place since really the following day. We actually had some preview some places and get us some ballpark numbers to say, hey, if this happens, this is where we need to be at, and this is our greatest ground zero location. Basically, we've got 150,000 square feet of specific combined areas that are affected within those buildings mentioned. Everything from water sewer backup issues within the courthouse that was at different levels, to our emergency operations center, obviously, that affected us during the storm. Administration building here, wind-driven rain. So the water damage was not just storm surge. It was storm surge, wind-driven rain, sometimes backup from utilities that, quite frankly, the city was doing everything it could do, but it can't pump water where water's already at. Roof leaks, minor roof leaks, thank goodness, we're pretty good on that. And then obviously physical damage from things getting, quite frankly, knocked into each other down here when the storm surge was quite big. But we're making progress on that. We're getting, hopefully within the next 4 to 5 days, we'll be at a point where the old courthouse can be ready for employee return. Not quite sure on public status yet. We're going to discuss that, and I think Jack has been working with all the courthouse, all the court officials to get that going. Admin here, as you can see, we're getting pretty close. Things in place, mechanical equipment, remediations occurred. Just kind of got some folks in different locations so we can get going. Pretty much most of the buildings are at that kind of stage to where we've already remediated the most damage. We've got boots on the ground every day, giving assessments for it. We're in the phase now to where we're doing things to protect ourselves from liability and other issues with so many people trying to help us during this time. So we've got temporary security, fencing, things like that, folks to monitor our progress, partners, so we can continue to get it done and back open for the county as fast as possible. Beyond that, there's some specific issues. We still have locked. Unfortunately, we still haven't got into the manager's office. We've had folks down there looking at the office. Originally, it's just some roof leak type stuff, wind-driven rain issues there, very small, minimal damage. I understand yesterday, one of the creeks nearby, there was some rising water concerns and possibly water could be in there. I have been in touch with members of the state for specific departments other than court, Randall Parker with probation office and those folks. They had some damage at the St. Luke's facility, but it was mainly water extraction, and thank God most of their offices are terrazzo, not carpet, so we got them in there yesterday late. and today with some of his probation folks. Hopefully, that building will be finished, and we'll have some child support folks available to get into the other facility fairly quickly, early next week. Beyond that, the biggest impacted area obviously was convention center. Had the waterfront, took a lot of debris hit, and we're moving forward there, but it was not on our critical list. We need to get y'all in here. We need to get the EOC back functioning and court facilities down there were our biggest locations. Other than that, we're continuing to make progress, and I think we'll be able to come back with your help, and I appreciate everything you were doing. My son actually asked me, government working through this time, I said, well, it's different. We got a government that actually works. I mean, and when I say works, I mean,
Amen.
every one of these guys. These guys, you don't normally see officials such as yourself get on the ground and do what you do, but I want to say it means a lot. I've been beside people from serving meals to hauling water to putting things in their truck to asking for clothes for folks, and that's good to see. So, other than that, I mean, we're going to keep moving where we're at. We're good to go. We've got great management to facilitate our repairs, and we'll keep you updated as they progress.
Well, Steve, I must say, you have done a terrific job.
Appreciate it.
I've been here in the emergency center. I've slept in the courthouse, and they have done one heck of a job. They're working all day long and tirelessly, and every one of them, it still has a smile on their face.
That's
So,
right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Okay, I'm going to ask Mr. Hodges, the last department report would be debris, solid waste. I know everybody's excited about that. I will tell you, as Mr. Hodges is walking, we talked convenience sites. Those were open yesterday. We did get overrun a little bit. We knew it was going to happen, but it's okay. We were open and we were taking the material. As Chairman Mark said, we worked throughout the night getting those sites clear, most of them. So we were ready for it again today. And also, I believe it was Wednesday, Gene, normal trash pickup began again through our contract with Waste Industries. There's a ton of stuff in people's cans. It was almost 2 weeks for some people who had missed it. It's slow go, but we're going. And I'm not getting any real negative feedback for the routes that were supposed to be run, that they weren't picking things up that need to be picked up. So, excuse me, I think that's a positive, Gene. Right. I'll hand it to you.
So we needed Rusty in the field, so that's why I got with him early this morning to get a quick summary of where everything ended and what he knew as of the time. As you know, we opened up our convenience sites yesterday. Plan is to keep them open Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. The Friday hours will be the same thing as what they will be on Tuesday and Thursday, which is 7 a.m. to 6:30. Using that, we'll have the convenience centers will be open a span of 40 hours over a 4-day period. So there'll be some time there for people to can have access to it. Heavy volume, very first of the day, it tapered off. And then it picked up again in the afternoon, which is standard of what typically happens. Of course, it's just the volume. I mean, it's a busier and a busier slow period too, but it's still there. Our scrap metal facility that takes our scrap metal in Vanceburg, you can't get to it because of the roads are blocked, but they do have the one in High Block that they're still utilizing. We currently, as of this morning, still did not have power at 3 of the 7 sites: Bridgeton, Hickman Hill, Highway 101. The only thing that does, it doesn't allow them to use the compactor and the refrigerator that they keep cold drinks in to kind of keep them hydrated. It doesn't work, but they've got coolers, they've got ice, they've got cold drinks, Gatorade, those type of things. They are a little slow catching up on the full pools yesterday. The reports we got was that Kerswama was very busy, but they are on top of it. They sent an email that they've got 4 crews to working on pulling boxes all day today. And that's all they're going to be doing, is pulling boxes. We also hear, of course, Kerswama feeds into some of the other counties, and they're all seem to be getting. That's how the flow of that works, and that's how we'll be able to get in and out quicker at the Kerswama. We have our monitoring firm with our debris are already stationed at all of our convenience sites, so they can begin monitoring as residents start to bring in any of their debris to the sites. They're now able to monitor those, so that they can measure those as they're coming in and file that on the FEMA reimbursement. Trash collection, as Mr. Jack pointed out, did start on Wednesday, running route Thursday and Friday, We're accessible, of course. They have run across still some trees in the road in various places, and of course some high water, especially up in the River Road area. Recycling should start on Monday. The recycling retailer that purchases all the recycled materials had closed down and indicated they will be back open on Monday in order for people to start working on recycling. So come Monday, streets allowing, everybody should be able to get their regular pickups on schedule. Our contractors, so when you have your storm debris come in, by FEMA guidelines, you have to have 2 contractors. You got to have somebody that does the work and somebody that watches them doing the work. So you got what they call a monitoring firm. Our monitoring firm is Tetra Tech. They spent all day yesterday certifying trucks. On Thursday, they're at our sites now, and they're monitoring. They got someone stationed at each one, and they're monitoring the debris that is coming in. P&J, Phillips & Jordan, which is the picker, the people that do the work, they are finishing. Last we report got is that they pretty much finished Creekside. They are thinking that it should open up today. The Creekside, they call it a DMS, debris management site. We're hoping to get it today, and my instruction was the minute it opens for me to know, so we can have a pre-positioned public information out. They had to bring in rock. They had to bring rocks, widen the culverts, bring a bigger pad, because they know there's going to be a tremendous amount of debris coming in. We also worked out a relationship with Weyerhaeuser this year. They're going to allow us to use a site at what used to be called Craven 30 on the site that's the industrial site, that they're going to allow us to use for a DMS for this event also. And they're working on getting that prepped also. So they're still working on that. That's going to probably open. That will probably open on Monday. Again, we're having to haul in a lot of rock. That one was less improved than the one that we've already been working on. So they're having to bring in some rock and try to go over the curb. They want to build a ramp basically, so it takes a little bit of work. But we're hoping that one will be open on Monday. And of course,
still has to be negotiated on that though.
No, this is DMS, debris management site. It's up to us to work out an arrangement with Weyerhaeuser, and Weyerhaeuser wanted to be a good corporate neighbor, and they've agreed to allow us to use that site. Okay. Just something to reiterate to your folks that if they want to get out and clean and they can bring if they don't want to sit in curbside, and again, it's not like it's going to get picked up tomorrow. It's not like it's going to get picked up the next day. You want to give the people enough time to get their stuff out so you're not having to make as many trips going through. And we're going to make multiple trips, but we don't want to make, you want to try to limit that because it's cheaper to try to not do them as many. But inform your folks, of course, that they can bring their debris to our convenience sites. If they can get it on there, and this is for residents, with commercial establishments, commercial people that are getting paid, they're not to use the convenience site. But if a resident wants to clean up their own yard, they can bring it to the convenience site if they want to go ahead and start getting their stuff cleaned up.
I've seen a lot of Frigidaires going.
And again, like we told them, we have told the fellows at the sites that if your box gets full, you stack, and when you get a clean box, when you get an empty box, you start filling it back up. It's to just try to help everybody get back to normal and to provide this service to them, which is what they need.
Does the people working at the site know that commercial cannot bring stuff in there?
Yes.
Be aware of this?
Yeah, they know it, but, they know it.
Okay, good enough.
Yeah.
All right. Any questions from it? Yes, sir.
Go ahead.
Hickman Hill, have you checked on them this morning? Because Carolina Pines to the middle of Havelock came on last night a little after 10.
Okay, again, we've been here for a few hours, I don't know yet, but that was when we briefed at 7:30, so I don't know if that's not. I know for sure that I had someone drive by 101 and that did not have power.
Jack and I passed there yesterday.
Yeah, I think there was a large segment of power from, say, Township 7 into Havelock last night that got lit up. Maybe some pockets that are still out, like Hickman Hill may have a tree on the line going to the site, but they got the main corridor open in there, so that's positive.
Waste Industries, when are they starting their schedule again?
They're scheduled, they're picking up their
Garbage.
They started that on Wednesday.
Wednesday?
Yes.
Yeah, they're running their regular schedule, Tom. It's just the day you're supposed to get it, Mr. Chairman, the day you're supposed to get it, you're gonna get it moving forward. So they won't go back and try to run some routes they missed.
So they'll be set on a regular
Yes.
schedule again?
Yeah,
Okay.
everybody's regular pickup day should be the same. And again, we just reiterate that if they're putting their garbage, their regular trash curbside, that's still gonna need a sticker. because that's the vehicle that that vendor gets paid through. We don't have any other way to deal with that.
All right.
Okay?
Okay, Mr. Chair, I'm gonna finish my report. This will be kind of the item 6. I just want to mention 3 things to you. I did have a meeting with our FEMA representative yesterday. I met with him. He will be reaching out to you individually as time moves on. They got their assessment team on the ground yesterday. They started in the shelters that we have open. That's basically identifying and registering people for FEMA assistance. We'll be pushing some public information sometime today about that process. There's a 1-800 number, there's an online application, and they will be going door to door beginning today. So first step is shelters, second day is door to door. The team gets bigger. They're out there with their iPads, talking to folks, trying to make sure they're determining what they need. This is part of the process to start bringing in the help that we'll need in the long-term recovery. Don't be surprised if you hear from citizens that, hey, someone from FEMA started talking to me. That's happening and it'll be in all areas of the county. So it's a good thing. They have to justify what they do. There's a process. So this is in that.
Havelock started yesterday. It was in Havelock yesterday.
They're probably starting at the shelter and then work right out from there.
Yeah, in the
Getting into-
neighborhoods.
Yes, sir. I am hearing, I have no verification, quite frankly, you may know more about this than me. There is a special session being talked about for our local North Carolina General Assembly. I would tell you there's 2 things that I think have to be considered from Craven County. These are things I think you can go ahead and start talking to your counterparts in Raleigh. One is the relief package that I know they're going to consider. I understand they won't be able to touch everything the first time around, but the thought that goes into that and the amount of time and money that's needed here, the scope is large. So anything they can do to go ahead and free some money up to help people who are in need is great. I think they've done a great job so far managing with us in the emergency response. We're now switching to recovery, and it's a much more expensive venture. Second, I've been working with our local superintendent, Dr. Doyle. I know she's sending correspondence out to her board and to the legislators. She needs calendar flexibility. As you're well aware, there will be no school in Craven County next week. There's still people in her organization and her family of students that have significant housing issues. She's grasped that, her board has grasped that. What she needs is help from the state to not have the pressure there to meet her normal guidelines of educating children. Bottom line, the rules gotta be out the window at this point. She needs the flexibility to work within different parameters. So I know that conversation's moving to Raleigh, but I believe it needs to happen during this session. And this isn't just a Craven County thing. It's all superintendents from Brunswick County, basically, Beaufort County, that need that level of help.
Okay.
I can get you more information from her, and I know she'll be sharing stuff with you directly. That's the 2 most critical issues at this point that I can identify.
All right.
Lastly, I feel repetitive, but I just want you to know that from my perspective, this county's in great hands with the employees we have here that work hard every day, but also that work in the city of New Bern, in the city of Havelock, and Trent Woods, and Dover, and anywhere else in local government. This is what we do. This is what we're here for, and we're going to do it. Thank you.
I just want to commend the commissioners. I mean, each one of us have been out in the field working, trying to get what we can for each one of our districts, and we're trying to help each other out, and I think we're doing a good job in that area. You know, I think the one great thing about North Carolina is people know how to help each other, and I've seen it all over where people are taking people in their homes. I have somebody taking me in their home, and it's been a great opportunity for people to help. And I think that in a short period of time, we'll be back to the great county that we are. We're very fortunate that we have a county manager and a board that has been fiscal conservative, and we have the funds available to us on our reserve accounts. We have our capital improvement accounts paid for the next 6 years, so that I think the county's in great shape that way, and I think we're going to make a good comeback. Steve, I'll start with you if you have.
May I
Yes.
stop you, please? I don't want to offend anybody, but
He already did his report.
Did he?
The county attorney?
Oh, I'm sorry.
I don't have a report, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Yeah, I thought he said before to me that,
No, he was just trying to get you money authority. He hasn't spoke, his first official meeting, I wanted to have him feel at home.
You guys have more important things than listening
well,
to me.
actually, at this point, him and I are pals. But, Steve?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to ask the county manager, have we had county employees affected, flooded?
Yes, sir.
During this event? Are they getting the resources that they need? There's a lot of resources out there. If they need help with that, please let this board know.
I will, sir. Part of opening up today wasn't just about having the flag up, it's about helping our people too. And without us being open, we really can't identify that and start working in our own departments, making sure our folks are taken care of. But Commissioner Tyson, I'm dedicated to that cause.
Well, please, we all are too, and, you know, that.
I'll work with you.
Everybody's important, but the county's not gonna get back up running 100% efficient. And they've done an amazing job under this. This will be in the history books, the operations of the Craven County during this storm. But, we have to help them with, you know, and so all the board members know of resources that you might not even be aware of. And so please let us know and we'll get it done because they don't need the stress of undue stress at this time. We need to help and we're here to help.
Thank you, sir.
Commissioner Liner?
Sure, again, I'd like to thank everybody for what we've done. Staff has been superb, everything. I'd like to thank the community. This community has come together. The churches, everybody in it has stood up and given what we as a board have gone to individually and asked for. So I want to thank you, but I want to make sure that the public understands that we are just now starting recovery. Don't take it that this is over with. We've got a long haul. We need a lot of help. We need a lot of stuff to still come in. So just because you don't see any of the damages out there or you don't hear it on TV, this county is going to survive, it's going to flourish, but we are a long ways from being done. So please keep that in your prayers. That's all I'm going to say, but I appreciate everything that this county and this board has done. Thank you.
Commissioner McCabe?
Yes, I'd like to, first of all, thanks for the employees. Everyone did a good job staying up. I also like to thanks in my area, the chief of the Harlem Fire Department. They did a tremendous job at night and day, round the clock. We had to stay at the fire department. Some of us had to sleep in our cars, trucks, because we had the Waters 15 from Indiana there. I think it was 22 people. And they slept upstairs, we slept downstairs, and couldn't go home because there wasn't no electricity. So I want to thank them guys, did a tremendous job down there. They did rescue a lot of people from the high water to the high school shelter. And also I'd like to thank Red Cross coming up, supplying food for us. And also I'd like to thank the NC Forest. They give us support for handling lines at the Cadets Community Center and also the National Guards. Right now, in the community center in Harlow there, we are definitely in need of cleaning supplies. People want cleaning supplies, we do not have any. And also, people have called me up about the insurance, the house is being lost. They want the county to fix it. I said, we can't do that. They have to call the insurance company. Then said the insurance company doesn't fix everything. They got like $2,000 deductible. It ain't too much we can do about that.
Can I provide a suggestion?
Yes.
Register with FEMA. That's the #1 thing they do. Sooner the better.
That's them,
We'll
call your
put
insurance
it
company,
out
whatever they
there.
do, it's called FEMA.
It's already online.
And
It's great.
what happened, a lot of people down there, probably all the county, They want things done today, not tomorrow, and that's not possible. Not possible at all. And, let's have one more thing here to say, that's it. I just like to, thank everyone was safe, and we have no one got hurt or no death in our community. And, we were blessed. And I want people to know, next time the storm come up, please leave your home. And this was a category 4. It could have been 4. It could have been, it was 4. It could have been, it was a 2, but it could have been a 4. It would have been much worse. So let's thank God and they're helping us, and we all need to pull together and work together, and we will survive this storm. That's all I have.
Mr. Sampson?
Yes, I'd just like to say I met a lot of people, and not all of them from my district, but that doesn't make any difference. They are people, and they need help. And so I try to do everything I could for them, because I know a lot of part of my district I wasn't able to get into because it's so far out. But I did everything I could, and my phone just came back on at the house about a day ago. So a lot of them might not have been able to get up with me. But working together makes me feel so well. We all are working together to try to help the county out. That's what it's all about. And I can see us being an example as our staff and our county manager and all of us have been working together trying to help each other. This is what it's all about. We're going to be an example for this state and how we have came through this storm together. That's what it's all about. That's what it needs to be about. No matter where you are, or who you are, or where you live at, we are coming together to help you out. Also, I talked to the county manager, I told him I have a home up there in the Duffield area that didn't flood. And it's a real nice place. And the house right across the street, they had to move, a tree fell on it. But my wife, she was talking to me this morning. We just got back in the house and we can't hardly get around. She wanted to see, can she get anybody in there? But I told her, you know, if we can help anybody, she's been trying to pick up supplies for people. And if we got supplies, everybody's welcome to what supplies we have. And I'm just overjoyed in the way Craven County has worked so close together to help each other. And also we have churches in our community. The church that I go to, I wanted to get there, wanted to talk to the pastor and talk to the church. We have a basement right underneath our church that never have flooded. And it didn't even flood this time. And see, is there any kind of way that we can help anybody that they can have some type of shelter in the basement, but I have to talk to the church first and see what the administration say about it. But I'm willing myself. You know how you had to jump through hoops sometimes, but I don't think they would deny that petition, because if they do, it's not Christians in there. So we're gonna be working hard, trying to get things going, not only in our community, but any person we meet that needs help. We're gonna try our best to support them. And again, I'm surprised, I'm so enthused the way our staff has stayed together and they work together, and they didn't show no partiality with no one. They just want to help, and that's what it's all about. And thank each of you very much.
Thank you, Commissioner. Vice Chairman
I
Daisy?
just want to echo everybody's thanks to the staff. Appreciate all of your support. That's it. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. The only thing I'd like to say is to the citizens of this county, be patient. We are going to work with you. We're going to try and help you in every way we can. So everybody stay calm, and eventually we'll get everything back together again. I understand from our attorney we're going into recess to the next session, which
We're thinking Tuesday, 8:30.
Tuesday at 8:30. Everybody got that? So we will go into recess. Can I have a motion?
Move.
Second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 We're in recess.